Hey everybody, welcome to the March edition of the Kentucky Governor's Office of Early Childhood webinar series. We're going to go ahead and get started. If anybody has any questions, always remember that we have the chat box there to the left-hand side of your screen, and we'll be looking at that as we move through and answer any questions at the very end of the day. So what we're going to do today, as you guys know, we're moving into the next grant cycle, and so what we're going to do today is kind of give you some of the updates from our office as far as the Ready Kids Conference goes, some of the work that you guys did last year and what we saw, and how we've kind of shifted some of our work here with the work that you guys are doing down there, and then talk a little bit more about that Race to the Top information. And if you haven't noticed yet, we released the 2014 early childhood profiles just yesterday. So always go to our website and be able to download those anytime. I'm going to give you just a quick brief look at those in today's webinar, but we'll be going over those quite a bit more when we do those regional trainings. So most of you guys have seen this slide before. This is kind of our logic model and where we see CECCs fitting into the work that we do. So all around the state, when it comes to early childhood education and development, improving school readiness is our main focus. And we have several different strategies that we use across the state to do that, from parent engagement to data collaboratives to the early learning standards that everybody is using to our fantastic professional development system. And really what we see is the CECCs as the webbing, the on-the-ground, boots-on-the-ground, grassroots folks that help us deliver school readiness across the state. So we see, again, CECCs pulling all of that together and helping us on that local level to promote change and school readiness across the state. This is a real quick timeline of what we're looking at for this year's RFA release. It says March 12th. That's not actually true. It's March 17th. We're going to release the RFA on Monday. So be looking out for that. So we've got the early childhood profiles out. We've got the RFA coming out, giving you guys about 6 weeks to put all of those pieces together and return your applications by May 15th. Hopefully everybody has had a chance to get online and register for the regional trainings that will be taking place over the course of the next 3 weeks or so. I'm really excited to get out in the state and to meet everybody. If you haven't done that yet, please do that as quickly as possible so that we can make sure that you are on our list as we go around. And we are going to do those intent to applies again this year, very similar to the way that we did it last year, just a real quick application online that will come straight to us, and we'll be tracking those as they come through. And then again, we'll around in July is when we'll have the release of how much everybody is getting and all of that kind of stuff. So again, very similar to what we had last year, what everybody was prepared for last year. It's going to be very similar to this year, with the exception of those regional trainings instead of the annual institute. We also wanted to remind everybody that we do still have last year's RFA toolkit up that has all of those templates that we had. The profiles, the link to the profiles is on that page, as well as the frequently asked questions from last year. So it might not be a bad idea to go ahead and start looking at some of those resources as we move into this next, the next steps of the RFA. Go ahead and start to think through some of the stuff that we talked about last year. Go back and visit some of our webinars, our data and outcome webinar, the overview of the profiles that we did last year, that Joe Roberts and I did last year. The Strengthening Families and the Adult-Child Interaction webinars have both been re-recorded and are out there and available for folks to take a look at as well. So we've kept all of that stuff up just to kind of make sure that everybody has the RFA in mind, and so that you guys can go ahead and take care of and keep that in mind as we move forward. Again, this is something that you guys may remember seeing from last year. We're not changing the RFA too much. Hopefully some of the stuff that we've done is going to help streamline the work that you guys do and communication between us, but the overall idea of what the RFA was based on is not going to change. We're going to be focused on increasing the school readiness through increasing collaboration and increasing the use of data. We're looking for everybody to have those intentional and deliberate activities to make sure that we're reaching that school readiness goals. We do have a lot more information on the profiles this year that will hopefully help you guys do that, but you always want to remember that there's a lot more data out there that's not just us here, not just on the profile, but across the state working on those things. And here's the list of regional trainings. Again, if you haven't had a chance to get online and take a look and register for one of those, we're looking at those to be about 2 hours long. It's going to be kind of a combination of all of that we did last year, as far as we had a webinar about the RFA, then we did the Institute where we had several breakout sessions where we talked specifically about the RFA, and then finally we took the RFA and the profile and we sat down and we said, this is what we hope you guys do with these two matching documents. So that's basically what we're going to be doing, only it's going to be in a much smaller group and a little bit more face-to-face. So I hope that everybody can join us with one of those and come with your questions. Again, maybe go through some of that stuff from last year, take a look at it, and be prepared so that we can have some robust conversations about the RFA and as we move forward. So here's a little bit of information about what happened last year. So when in the fiscal year of 2013 or 2011 through 2012, we had a total of 69 applications that were received here in our offices that represented 105 counties. We had 16 counties that were not able to apply, and we had 16 counties that were not represented. So we'd gone a really long way into making sure that CECCs across the state were growing and expanding and bringing more people to the table. And we focused again on that last year. So we went up from 69 to 74 counties, with many counties merging to become more of a service area rather than just by county, to help bring resources together that covered 111 counties. And we had 9 counties that weren't able to come together, but a lot of those counties that weren't able to apply last year still worked really, really hard at making sure that they stayed together, that they're still meeting, and they're still preparing an RFA for this year. So always remember that sometimes it doesn't happen without funding. It's a matter about that. It's more about collaboration than anything. Here's just a brief look at of how we've kind of shifted our focus here on the state level, and how you guys have responded to that in the last couple of years. So in fiscal year 2010 through 2011, we were looking mostly at environment and focusing a lot on the professional development, but data and family engagement were not quite that important, or not important, but weren't a main focus. So, you know, we've since learned that about 50% of kids across the state are not currently in an organized setting. So we tasked CECCs with helping bridge that gap with family engagement activities, and you guys have responded fantastically well. It is so great to see all of the family engagement activities that are out there, as well as continued focus on the environment and professional development and use of data. So we were really excited and really proud of some of the stuff that we saw last year, and are looking for some really great responses again this year. We also saw a great expansion of the actual groups that have become members of CECCs over the last few years. As you can see from this graphic here, there's a lot of different groups that are actually sitting at the table that some folks don't even necessarily think as being a part of early childhood, such as higher education or healthcare professionals. Everybody has an important role to play in the development of children, and you guys, again, have responded with bringing folks together in that collaborative mode in a fantastic way. As far as that other goes, that other is just about any other group that you can think of, from parents to grandparents to foster parents to local DCBS workers and WIC workers and that sort of thing. So you guys, again, have just done a fantastic job of making sure that we have a collaborative effort on the ground to make sure that we're organizing efforts. So again, here's a list of some of the stuff that we were really excited to see as the membership lists were coming in this past year. You guys probably, hopefully some of you were able to attend the Early Learning Leadership Network meetings, or the ELLEN meetings, over the last couple of days, and are planning on attending some more of those as we move forward in the next month or so. Again, DCBS members, family and parents, cooperative extension, businesses, health departments, libraries, all fantastic and important people to have at your table to ensure school readiness for all children in your community. And here's just another quick list of those Early Learning Leadership Network meetings. If you weren't able to attend the Berea, the Anderson, or the Simpson in the last couple of days, we still have the Callaway and the Ashland coming up next week. Those are great networking opportunities for CECCs. And again, they have asked us to focus on getting some child care folks there to help broaden their discussion as well. Okay, moving on to the profile. I know everybody has been really, really excited to see this one. Now, we have done some changes to the actual layout of the profile, but it does not, it has the same information that you guys saw last year. We've just moved it around a little bit, cleaned it up a little bit to make the information a little bit more easy to use. It's still, the screener results and other early childhood data points are on there on both the front and the back. They display both the county level and the state summary on every one, but we also have one that is just used for the state. All of the items that are on the profile are intended to be actionable. So again, we've asked you to use the profile to base a lot of your activities on, and we wanted to make sure that all of those data points that were put on the profile are actionable for that very reason. And they were built to inform CECCs and communities on how to improve school readiness locally. So that's the front of it. Like I said, it's a little bit cleaner, a little bit cleaned up, a little bit more streamlined than what we had last year. Again, we have those state partners, a lot of the state partners that you guys see there that help develop this profile. You know, our office with the Kentucky Center for Employment and Workforce Statistics, KDE, and CHFS have all really pitched in to make sure that this data profile gives you a comprehensive look at early childhood across the state. There is a little bit of additional information that we've added. Again, we'll go over these in more detail during those regional trainings, but there is a little bit more additional information there for you to better see some of the stuff that's happening on the ground there. And we've made some we've clarified the charts just a little bit, hopefully, to make them a little bit more understandable. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Amanda Riley. She has been our Ready Kids Conference guru here in the office, and she's going to give us a real quick update on what has been happening with that.
Thanks, Amanda. As Amanda Flannery said, I have been working on the Ready Kids Conference here in the office with Albert Fox. We've been working mainly on getting the presenters ready, and we are really excited to be able to talk to the CECCs today about what we're doing with Ready Kids. It is going to be June 16th through the 18th at the GOEC House in Louisville. It's going to be a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday conference with a half day on Monday, a half day on Wednesday, and a whole day on Tuesday. We are going to have up to 17 hours of professional development credit available. That's going to be 15 hours available at the conference during the day on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And then we're actually going to be having a special event at the Kentucky Science Center there in Louisville for an additional 2 hours available to anyone who signs up for that during registration. There will be an additional charge, and the seating is limited, but it's going to be a really exciting event that's available extra to the conference. We're going to have 4 different tracks at Ready Kids this year: Ready Children, Ready Environments, Ready Families, and Ready Communities. And I know Amanda Flannery has been talking to you guys about the Ready Communities track, and I know you guys are really excited about that. Basically, in that track, we'll be talking about mobilizing communities and policymakers to support families and early care and education programs to ensure that all kids are kindergarten ready. We've got some exciting topics in all of the tracks. Of course, they're all pretty self-explainable, but you can find out more information. Hopefully soon we'll be posting some more information. I know you got a secondary save the date with kind of additional details coming soon. We're excited about the conference, and we just want to give you a little bit more information. I know a lot of you have been contacting us about the budgeting, and we still have not set an official cost, but you will be staying at the Galt House in Louisville, and if you need more information about that, you'll be able to access that very soon on our website. You're also able to go ahead and call the Galt House to ask about that if you need to. You can use your CECC Institute funds, the ones you set aside for the Institute, to go to the Ready Kids Conference. You can also use those Institute funds that you set aside to go to your regional conferences that Amanda Flannery will be hosting around the state. If you don't use your Institute funds for either the regional meeting or for Ready Kids, you will need to send those back. And like I said, if you have any questions, you'll be able to check our website soon. We expect registration to open in early April. We hope to see you there.
Thanks, Amanda. We really appreciate that update. And as Amanda said, we're really excited, and a bunch of us here in the office have been focused on making sure that this is going to be a great event across the state. But both Amanda and Albert have really been focusing on that. So the last little section that we wanted to talk a little bit about today is the components of our Race to the Top plan. If you were able to join us back in January, Terry Tolan gave us a really great kind of overview of what's coming down the pike with the Race to the Top grant and what our plans are coming together and that sort of thing. But I do think that it's important for all of us to keep in mind those major components as we move forward through the next year. So, and if you haven't attended one of the Ellen meetings as of yet, we really do go into a pretty deep dive about that. So, and we will continue to do that with CECCs across the state as well. So just as a reminder, we have that inclusive tiered quality rating system. We're going to call it Kentucky All-Stars, where we will be including public preschool, Head Start, and child care into a tiered quality rating system. So that's really exciting. One of our biggest, that's 93% of our budget is going to be going towards making sure that that inclusive tiered quality rating system is expanded across the state. So again, that's something that we'll be really focused on over the course of the next year or so. The expansion of the Born Learning Academies, in case you are not really sure what those are, the Born Learning Academies are 6-month parent training workshops that are held in local elementary schools where parents come, they learn how to work with their kids on a particular topic, whether that's nutrition or everyday conversations, how every interaction with a child is a learning opportunity for that child is the focus of the Born Learning Academies. So parents come, they learn a little bit about one of those topics, then they actually practice with their children with a facilitator. It's a really great opportunity for the state of Kentucky to expand the Born Learning Academies, and we here in the office are very, very excited about that. Another piece to always keep in mind is the integration of that Strengthening Families framework. We have done a couple of webinars about that. If you haven't had a chance to take a look at those yet, go ahead and go back and take a look at the Strengthening Families webinar. It talks a lot about the framework and how those protective factors, how we plan on integrating those across the state. As far as professional development goes, that was one of our top scored pieces of our Race to the Top grant, because we already have such a great professional development career lattice in the state. So what we're trying to do is just to be a little bit more responsive on what the needs are on the ground. So we're really hoping that CECCs can help us in making sure that that professional development, those professional development initiatives go through to professionals on the ground. We're also going to do an integrated unified registry for professional development. We're not 100% sure what that's going to look like right now, but we are looking at making sure that all early childhood professionals are using a similar system, so that we can actually measure across the state what's happening on the ground, and then an expansion of that longitudinal data system. So lots of stuff going on up here at the GOEC. We've got several things going on, and we hope to keep you guys as involved as we can as we move forward through these webinars with the regional trainings, and hopefully most of you guys will see you at the conference, at the Ready Kids Conference. A couple of updates and announcements. We do have the next webinar coming up on April 10th at 2. And this one, because this is going to be kind of a wrap-up of those regional trainings, I think what we're going to do is just have a fiscal year grant Q&A. So, as I go around, I'm going to be having different conversations with folks across the state, and I just want to make sure that everybody gets their questions answered as we move into the next phase of our grant writing. And so with that, I'm going to go ahead and open it up to questions. I've seen the chat box has been rather active, but let me go up and see if I see anything right offhand. Okay. Okay, I see one here that talks about, asks when we're going to put the link up. We try to get the links up as quickly as possible, hopefully this afternoon, but no later than close of business by tomorrow. We'll make sure that it's up and out there for everybody to take a look at. And we do, again, have all of those webinars archived on there for you, everything from the RFA conversations that we had last year to the data and outcome webinars that we worked on. So everything is out there for you guys to take advantage of as we move into this next grant cycle. Looks like I do have somebody typing in a message. So do you have a fiscal year 14 process results? I'm not exactly sure what you mean by that question. We did go over a little bit of what we saw coming back in. Again, we saw that shift of from moving into the family engagement piece and having more conversations with families across the state. We saw a huge expansion of actual membership of CECCs across the state, which we're really excited about. And we've also seen an expansion of just CECCs who are applying and coming together to make sure that information is that children are arriving to school ready. Can you give me the deadlines for FY15 again, please? I will be more than happy to do that. Let me just scoot up here. So we're going to release the RFA on Monday. We're in the process right now of getting those together. The date is going to be May 15th, just as it was last year. Trying to get back to that slide. We'll have the intent to apply will be due on April 15th. Again, that shouldn't take very long. It's just going to be a real quick thing up there on our website. We'll have the applications due on May 15th, and then we'll go through our review process with July being when award notifications will go out. So very similar to what we did last year. It seemed most folks were pretty satisfied with how we did that, so we're just going to continue along that line. Okay, we compared fiscal year 12 and 13 on a chart. Was wondering if you had data for 14. We don't yet because we're in the middle of that grant cycle. I see the question that you were looking for now. So what they're asking for is the information for this year, but we don't have those results because we're still in the middle of the grant cycle and we haven't received everybody's information yet. So as soon as we get that information out, we'll make sure that you guys are up to date with how everything worked. So we have another question. What role do you see CECCs playing in regards to Race to the Top? That is a very, very good question. We see CECCs playing an important role in a lot of the different pieces of Race to the Top, particularly with the family engagement pieces and that professional development piece. As I said, with the professional development piece, when we applied, that part of it got our highest score, and we made no changes to that current system. It was just much more about aligning and broadening that conversation with folks on the ground. And so we're going to kind of hopefully get CECCs to work with us on ensuring that there is effective professional development based around certain priorities. That will be one piece of it, as well as making sure that the Kentucky All-Stars information is getting out there. You guys have already done a really great job with the family engagement piece, again, moving from just focusing on the environments and professional development and putting a little bit more emphasis on those family engagement pieces. We're probably going to ask you guys to help us out a little bit more with that, specifically when we were talking about the Strengthening Families Framework and the Born Learning Academies. And those are kind of the two biggest pieces. It's not going to be, we're not, you guys are already doing such a great job. We're really going to help build help continue what you guys are doing with some of that, with what we're doing here up on the state level. So, looks like, does anybody have any questions, any last minute questions? As I said, a lot of the information that we've gone over today, we're going to go into with a bit more depth during those regional trainings. Just wanted to give you guys kind of an update on what we're doing here on the state level. And if you guys ever have any questions, don't ever hesitate to give me a call. Do we know what the grant amounts might be? That will be released on Monday along with the RFA. So you can take a look at that. How long are the regional meetings? Probably going to be about 2 hours. As I said, we're condensing a lot of the stuff that we did last year with three different webinars and the annual institute, and kind of smushing that down and having a little bit more of a targeted conversation. So we're looking at about 2 hours with a question and answer session. So hopefully it's not going to be too overwhelming for anyone to be able to attend.
I do have one question, and I'm not in front of a computer, so therefore I've just been listening in. Is it okay if I talk?
Sure, go right ahead.
Okay, it's Nancy Roberts, and I'm from the Glad area, and I heard Amanda say that we can either go to we have a choice of going to the regional or to the Ready Kids Conference to use the funds that were set aside for the Institute. So
no, you don't. It's not a choice. If you have funds set aside, you can use funds as the travel to the regional meetings and to the Ready Kids Conference. So it's not kind of an either-or thing. It's both.
Okay. So if someone from the council cannot make it to the Ready Kids Conference, are those funds to be returned if they only attend the regional conference?
Yes, ma'am. Anything that's not used to come to the regional trainings, yeah. It would need to be returned at the end of the fiscal year.
Okay, if they choose not to go to the Ready Kids Conference.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's what I needed. Thank you.
You're welcome. Does anybody else who's not in front of a computer currently have any questions? Looks like we got a couple of people typing, so I'm just going to give it just a minute longer. I really appreciate all of the work that you guys do here in our office. CECCs are one of the most important things that we do, and being able to support your work on the ground to ensure school readiness is just a great pleasure, and witnessing some of the work that you guys do is just absolutely great. Okay, the Ready Kids Conference attendees don't have to be the chair or the fiscal agent. No, that is more when we added that into the grant cycle last time around, it was more because we were talking about the grant writing at the event. We will have that CECC track, the communities kind of track that Amanda mentioned during her section, and that's, we're going to talk a lot about some stuff that would be of interest to CECCs in those sessions, but it doesn't necessarily need to be the chair or the fiscal agent. Just always keep in mind that these are really great networking opportunities for anybody on your CECC. So, all right, with that, I will let everyone get back to this sunny, although cold day, and I hope to see everybody as I get out there. Thank you so much for taking the time today. Bye-bye.